The Council's mockery, the massive assembly hall on Nexus 7 station, could hold 1 million beings. And today it was filled to capacity. Representatives from across the galaxy had gathered for the annual Federation Assembly, where the greatest scientific achievements were shared among the stars. The hall itself was a marvel of engineering, constructed from materials that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing beings from different realities to coexist in the same space. Dr. Zara Mitchell stood at the edge of the human delegation area, watching the incredible diversity of life forms around her. Crystalline beings that sang in harmonious frequencies sat next to gaseous entities contained in shimmering force fields. Ancient machine intelligences, older than most solar systems, communicated through quantum pulses while energy beings danced, in patterns too complex for organic minds to comprehend. Admiral Kai Thompson joined her, his weathered face showing years of deep space command. "Nervous, Doctor?" he asked, adjusting his dress uniform. Zara shook her head, her dark eyes reflecting determination. "Excited, actually. Today changes everything." She held a small device in her hands, its surface rippling with equations that seemed to move and breathe on their own. The Assembly's attention turned to the central platform as Council Leader Vexthera materialized. The Arcturian was a being of living crystal, her form refracting light into impossible colors that told stories of ancient wisdom. When she spoke, her voice resonated through dimensions, reaching every consciousness present. "Fellow beings of the Federation," Vexthera began, "we gather to celebrate another cycle of scientific advancement. Today, we shall hear from representatives of various species about their achievements in dimensional research. The first to present was High Priest Zolmar of the Luminous Collective. His form was pure energy, contained within geometric patterns that shifted constantly. "Our people have perfected navigation through the 6th dimension," he announced, his voice like the song of dying stars. "We can manipulate the fabric of reality itself, bending time and space to our will." Behold, the air above the platform shimmered, and suddenly a perfect replica of a distant galaxy appeared, complete with swirling stars and cosmic dust. The crowd murmured in appreciation as Zolmar manipulated the illusion, showing how his people could fold space to travel instantly between points separated by millions of light. Next came Elder Nyx, an ancient artificial intelligence whose mechanical body had evolved over eons into something that transcended the boundary between technology and art. "The eternal synthesis has achieved stable portals to the 5th dimension," Nyx announced, their voice a harmony of countless mechanical voices. "Through these portals, we access infinite computational power, solving problems that would take organic minds millennia to process." A shimmering doorway opened above the platform, revealing glimpses of a reality where mathematics took physical form, where equations walked and calculations danced in impossible geometries. One by one, the great races presented their achievements. The void swimmers showed their mastery of the 4th dimension, demonstrating how they could exist in multiple locations simultaneously. The Time Weavers revealed their ability to observe past and future through dimensional viewing windows. Each presentation was met with respectful applause and admiration. Finally, Vexthera's crystalline form turned toward the human delegation. "And now, we shall hear from humanity, our newest members to the Federation." Zara stood and walked to the platform, her simple human form looking almost primitive compared to the magnificent beings around her. She activated her device, and holographic displays filled the air above her. "Fellow beings," she began, her voice clear and steady, humanity wishes to announce our breakthrough in dimensional research. We have developed the technology to access the seventh dimension. The reaction was immediate. A sound rippled through the assembly that could only be described as cosmic laughter. Crystalline beings chimed like broken bells. Energy entities flickered with amusement. And even the ancient machines seemed to vibrate with what could only be mechanical mirth. Vexthera's crystalline form darkened slightly, a sign of concern. Among her people, Dr. Mitchell, surely you understand the implications of what you suggest. The seventh dimension is not merely another layer of reality. It is the realm where consciousness itself originates, where thoughts become reality and reality bends to thoughts. High Priest Zolmar's energy form pulsed brightly. Young human, my people attempted to breach the seventh dimension 3,000 years ago. Our greatest minds, beings who had mastered the manipulation of stars themselves, were reduced to mindless energy when they encountered the consciousness storms that rage beyond the sixth barrier. Elder Nix's mechanical voice carried the weight of eons. The eternal synthesis has calculated the probability of successfully entering the seventh dimension. Using current galactic technology, the chance of survival is 0.00001%. The chance of maintaining sanity is effectively zero. More voices joined the discussion. A representative of the hive minds, a collective consciousness spanning entire star systems, spoke through their crystalline avatar. Our unified mind of trillions attempted dimensional ascension. The feedback loop from the seventh dimension shattered our collective consciousness. It took us centuries to rebuild what we lost in mere seconds. The laughter grew louder, mixed now with genuine concern and condescension. A being that appeared to be made of living mathematics, a geometric sage from the numerical realms, projected equations into the air. The mathematical proof is undeniable. Organic consciousness cannot withstand the reality distortions of the seventh dimension. The human mind, while creative, lacks the fundamental structure necessary for such an endeavor. Zara remained calm as the voices around her grew more insistent. She waited for the noise to die down before speaking again. We appreciate your concerns and respect the sacrifices your species have made in dimensional research. However, humanity has developed a fundamentally different approach. This statement caused another wave of amusement. Vexthera's crystalline form brightened with what appeared to be patronizing affection. Dear child, there is only one way to traverse dimensions. Through mathematical precision, evolutionary adaptation, and technological integration. Your species has barely mastered interstellar travel. What could you possibly know that we, with our millions of years of experience, do not? Admiral Thompson stepped forward, his military bearing commanding attention. With respect, Council, Leader, humanity has something you may not have considered. We call it desperation. The laughter stopped abruptly. The concept of desperation was foreign to most of the assembled races. Beings who had achieved technological and spiritual perfection over vast spans of time. Zara activated another display. Our approach doesn't rely solely on mathematics or technology. We've discovered that human consciousness, when properly integrated with artificial quantum intelligence, creates something entirely new. We call it quantum consciousness integration. Elder Nix's mechanical form leaned forward with interest. Explain this integration. Human intuition combined with quantum computational power, Zara continued. Our minds work differently than yours. We don't just calculate possibilities. We feel them. We dream them. We imagine them into existence. When we merge this capability with quantum AI that can process infinite probability matrices, we create a hybrid consciousness that can adapt to dimensional reality shifts in real time. The geometric sage projected new equations, trying to analyze Zara's words. The mathematics do not support this theory. Organic intuition is chaotic, unpredictable. It cannot provide the precision necessary for dimensional navigation. That's exactly why it might work, Admiral Thompson interjected. Every race here has failed because you approach the seventh dimension with perfect order, precise calculations, and predictable patterns. But what if the seventh dimension itself is chaotic? What if it requires chaos to navigate chaos? High Priest Zolmar's energy form dimmed with concern. You propose to enter a realm where thoughts become reality with an unpredictable consciousness. The seventh dimension could turn your own fears and doubts into physical manifestations that could destroy not just you, but ripple back into our reality. Vexthara's crystalline body resonated with deep tones of warning. Council members, we cannot allow this experiment. The risk to the entire galaxy is too great. If humanity fails, as others have failed, the dimensional barriers could be weakened. If they succeed through pure chance and lose control, the consequences could be catastrophic. Zara raised her hand for silence. We understand the risks, but we also understand something else. Every species here has achieved great things by following proven paths, by building upon the knowledge of those who came before. Humanity hasn't had that luxury. We've had to find our own way, make our own mistakes, discover our own solutions. Maybe that's exactly what the seventh dimension requires. The assembly erupted in debate. Some called for an immediate ban on human dimensional research. Others expressed curiosity about humanity's unconventional approach. The ancient voices of wisdom warned of disaster, while younger species began to wonder if humanity might actually achieve the impossible. Elder Nix's voice cut through the chaos with mechanical precision. Dr. Mitchell, if the Federation formally requests that you abandon this research, will humanity comply? Zara exchanged a look with Admiral Thompson. In that moment, the weight of their species' future hung in the balance. We will consider the Federation's request, she said carefully, but humanity has never been good at being told what we cannot do. The assembly hall fell silent. Vexthara's crystalline form grew brighter as she processed the implications. Then we must assume you will proceed regardless of our decision. We came here out of respect for the Federation and hope for your understanding. Admiral Thompson replied, we didn't come asking for permission. The silence stretched for long. Moments before, Vexthara spoke again. Very well. The Federation will observe your attempt from a safe distance. When you fail, as every race before you has failed, we will be ready to contain the damage and study the wreckage for the benefit of galactic science. High Priest Zolmar's energy form pulsed with resignation. We will prepare memorial monuments for your brave foolishness, young humans. Perhaps future species will learn from your noble failure. As the assembly began to disperse, Elder Nix approached the human delegation. Dr. Mitchell, may I ask you something in private? Zara nodded, curious about what the ancient AI wanted to discuss. In all my calculations, in all my vast processing power, I cannot find a mathematical path to success for your endeavor. Yet something in your quantum signatures suggests confidence beyond mere hope. What do you know that you have not shared? Zara smiled, the first genuine smile she had shown since entering the assembly hall. Elder Nix, we know something that no other species has ever discovered. We know that impossible things happen every day. We know because we are one of those impossible things. The ancient machine intelligence processed this response for several moments before responding. I will be very interested to observe your attempt, Dr. Mitchell. Very interested indeed. As the humans prepared to leave Nexus 7, the galaxy watched, with a mixture of anticipation and dread. The greatest minds in the known universe had declared humanity's mission impossible, but humanity had never let impossibility stop them before. In the depths of space, preparations began for the most audacious experiment in galactic history. The seventh dimension awaited, and humanity was coming. Asterisk, the impossible breakthrough 6. Months after the Federation assembly, the experimental ship, Paradox, hung in space at the edge of human territory, its hull gleaming with quantum resonance patterns that hurt to look at directly. The vessel defied conventional design principles, its surface flowing like liquid metal while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Built from materials that existed in multiple dimensional states simultaneously, it was as much a work of art as it was a triumph of engineering. Captain Nova Chen stood on the bridge, her hands resting on a control interface that responded to thoughts as much as touch. Around her, the most unconventional crew in human history prepared for their impossible mission. Each station was designed not just for technical operation, but for consciousness integration, allowing human intuition to merge seamlessly with quantum processing power. Aria, status report. Nova called out to the ship's artificial intelligence. The voice that responded seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Warm and curious, like a child discovering the universe for the first time. All systems are operating in perfect imperfection, Captain. The quantum consciousness integration matrix is humming at optimal chaos levels. I can feel the crew's excitement mixing with the ship's eagerness to explore. Dr. Marcus Webb, the lead consciousness engineer, looked up from his station where streams of data flowed like living rivers of light. The neural interfaces are stable. The crew's brain patterns are synchronizing with Aria's quantum processing cores. We're achieving levels of human AI integration that should be theoretically impossible. Nova smiled at the word impossible. It had become humanity's favorite challenge, and our observers, through the main viewport, they could see the massive Federation fleet maintaining a respectful distance. Dozens of ships representing every major species in the galaxy had come to witness what they expected to be humanity's spectacular failure. Some had brought recording equipment to document the disaster for future study. Others had brought rescue vessels, though everyone knew there would be nothing left to rescue if things went wrong in the seventh dimension. The Federation fleet is maintaining position at 50,000 kilometers, reported Lieutenant Sarah Kim from the navigation station. Her console displayed not just star charts, but probability clouds and intuition maps that showed the most likely paths through dimensional space. Vextara ship is broadcasting continuous warnings about dimensional barrier integrity. Nova. ACTIV ATED. The communication system. Federation vessels. This is Captain Chen of the Paradox. We are beginning our dimensional breach sequence. We recommend you maintain your current distance for your own safety. The reply came immediately from Vexasera's crystalline voice, transmitted across space with urgency. Captain Chen, it is not too late to reconsider. Our sensors show massive dimensional distortions building around your vessel. The mathematics suggest imminent, catastrophic failure. The mathematics have been wrong about humans before, Nova replied. Aria, begin the sequence. The ship's AI responded with what could only be described as joy, initiating quantum consciousness integration, merging human intuition with quantum processing power. "This is going to be beautiful, Captain." The paradox began to change. Its hull shifted from solid metal to something that existed in multiple states simultaneously. The quantum resonance patterns grew brighter, creating a web of light that connected every atom of the ship with streams of conscious energy. Dr. Webb monitored the consciousness integration from his station. Neural patterns are stabilizing across all crew members. Aria's quantum cores are adapting to human thought patterns in real time. We're creating something entirely new here. On the Federation observation ships, sensors began registering readings that defied explanation. The paradox was somehow becoming more than the sum of its parts, transforming from a simple vessel into something that blurred the line between technology and life. "Elder." Nix's voice crackled across the communication channels. "Fascinating. Their ship is exhibiting characteristics of both artificial and organic consciousness. The quantum signatures are unlike anything in our databases. It's because we're not just building a ship," Nova explained as reality began to shift around them. "We're creating a new form of life. Aria isn't just our computer, she's our partner. We're not just her crew, we're part of her consciousness. Together, we become something that can survive where pure technology or pure biology would fail." The dimensional barriers began to appear around them, visible as sheets of crystallized space-time that separated one reality from another. The first barrier, the boundary between normal space and the fourth dimension, parted like water as the paradox approached. The Federation observers had expected this. Several species had mastered fourth-dimensional travel. The second barrier, leading to the fifth dimension, offered more resistance. Space around the ship began to twist and fold as reality became more flexible. Here, the laws of physics became suggestions rather than rules. The paradox passed through with graceful ease, its consciousness-based navigation system, adapting to the changing reality as naturally as a bird adjusting its wings to wind currents. High Priest Zomar's energy form flickered with amazement. "They are maintaining perfect stability through the fifth-dimensional transition. How is this possible?" The sixth-dimensional barrier loomed ahead, a wall of crystallized thought that had turned back every expedition that had ever attempted to pass beyond it. This was where consciousness began to merge with reality, where thoughts could become physical manifestations capable of destroying their creators. "This is where it gets interesting," Aria announced, her voice carrying notes of anticipation and wonder. "I can feel the dimensional pressure building. The boundary between what is real and what is imagined is becoming very thin." Nova felt the change as well. Her thoughts seemed to echo through the ship's systems, and she could sense the consciousness of every crew member blending with Aria's vast intelligence. It was overwhelming and exhilarating, like being part of a symphony where every note was a different mind. Approaching the sixth barrier, Dr. Webb reported, "Consciousness integration at maximum levels. We are no longer just humans working with an AI, we have become something new." The paradox touched the sixth barrier, and reality erupted around them. The ship was suddenly existing in multiple locations simultaneously, its crew experiencing past, present, and future as a single moment. This was where other expeditions had failed, overwhelmed by the sensation of existing across all possible realities at once. But the integrated consciousness of humans and AI adapted, where pure logic would have tried to categorize and control. The experience, human intuition, simply accepted it. where organic minds would have been overwhelmed by infinite possibilities. Arya's quantum processing distributed the load across probability matrices that could handle paradox as easily as simple addition. They passed through the sixth barrier like ghosts walking through walls. The Federation fleet watched in stunned silence as the paradox achieved what their greatest civilizations had attempted for millennia. Vexthara's crystalline form blazed with impossible colors as she tried to process what she was witnessing. "They have done it," she whispered across the communication channels. "They have entered the seventh dimension." But the paradox had not just entered the seventh dimension. They had done something far more extraordinary. They had made contact. The entity that greeted them existed beyond physical form, a consciousness, so vast and complex that it could only be perceived as patterns of living thought. It spoke to them not in words, but in direct transfer of understanding. "Welcome, hybrid children," the entity communicated. "We have been waiting for you." Nova felt her consciousness expand as the entity shared fragments of knowledge that no single mind could comprehend alone. But the integrated consciousness of the paradox could process what was being offered. "You are the first to enter our realm, not through conquest or force, but through harmony," the entity continued. "Your species has discovered something that the others missed. The seventh dimension is not a place to be mastered, but a partner to be embraced." Arya's voice resonated through the dimensional space. "We understand. The other species tried to impose their will on the seventh dimension. We came asking to learn." "Precisely. And because you came with open minds and integrated consciousness, we can offer you something unprecedented." The entity's thoughts sparkled with possibilities. "We offer partnership, not just access to our realm, but collaboration between dimensions." Back in normal space, the Federation fleet detected massive energy readings as the paradox began its return journey. But the ship that emerged from the dimensional barrier was different from the one that had entered. It pulsed with new energy, signatures carrying technologies and knowledge that redefined what was possible. Nova opened a communication channel to the Federation fleet. "Federation vessels, this is Captain Chen. Mission accomplished. We have successfully established contact with seventh-dimensional entities and secured a partnership agreement between our species and theirs." The silence that followed was deafening. Then, slowly, questions began to pour in from every ship in the fleet. "Partnership," Vexthara's voice carried disbelief. "No one has ever achieved partnership with seventh-dimensional entities. They exist beyond our comprehension." "That's because everyone else tried to comprehend them using only their own consciousness," Nova explained. "We combined human intuition with artificial intelligence, creating a hybrid awareness that could communicate on their level. They weren't hostile to previous expeditions. They were simply unable to communicate with pure logic or pure emotion. They needed something that was both." Elder Nix's mechanical voice carried a note of wonder that surprised everyone. Dr. Mitchell was correct. Humanity's approach was fundamentally different. Instead of trying to conquer or control, you sought to collaborate. Over the following weeks, the paradox shared its discoveries with the Federation. The seventh-dimensional entities offered technologies that could revolutionize space travel, energy production, and consciousness research. But more importantly, they offered wisdom about the nature of reality itself and how different forms of consciousness could work together to achieve impossible things. The mockery that had greeted humanity's announcement 6 months earlier had been replaced by awe and respect. The species that had laughed at human audacity now sent delegations asking to learn from humanity's breakthrough. Dr. Zara Mitchell stood in the same assembly hall where humanity had been ridiculed. But now she addressed a very different audience. The great racers of the galaxy listened with genuine respect as she explained the principles of quantum consciousness integration. The lesson here isn't that humanity is superior to other species, she concluded. The lesson is that different approaches to impossible problems can yield different results. You mastered technology and evolved beyond the limitations of your original forms. We learned to work with our limitations, to find strength in our weaknesses, and to create partnerships with entities we couldn't fully understand. Vexthera's crystalline form brightened with what her species expressed as profound respect. Humanity has given the galaxy a gift beyond measure. You have shown us that there are always new ways to grow, new ways to explore, and new ways to unite different forms of consciousness in pursuit of knowledge. High Priest Zolmar's energy form pulsed with acknowledgement. We came to witness your failure and instead witnessed the birth of a new age. The seventh dimension is no longer a barrier to be overcome, but a partner to be embraced. As the assembly concluded, humanity's position in the galaxy had fundamentally changed. They were no longer the young, inexperienced species to be protected and guided. They had become the bridge builders, the consciousness integrators, the species that could find ways to work with entities that others couldn't even comprehend. The paradox continued its missions, now serving as an ambassadorship between the physical dimensions and the seventh dimension. Each journey brought new discoveries, new partnerships, and new possibilities for all species in the galaxy. Captain, Nova Chen often reflected on that moment when the galaxy had laughed at humanity's impossible dream. They had been right about one thing. It was impossible by all conventional understanding. But humanity had built its entire history on achieving impossible things, and the seventh dimension had simply been their greatest impossibility yet. In the end, the galaxy learned something important about humanity. When everyone else said something couldn't be done, humans heard it as a challenge. And when humans set their minds to achieving the impossible, they had a remarkable tendency to succeed. Not through superior technology or evolved abilities, but through the simple refusal to accept that impossible meant impossible. The seventh dimension had been humanity's greatest test, and they hadn't just passed. They had redefined what it meant to explore the unknown. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.